So I realized last time that all we talked about was sports and gambling, and you were out of your wheelhouse. So I wanted to make this podcast all about you. So tell me about your devotionals that you do every day and your discipline. And just give the listeners an idea, what does a healthy devotion life look like?
Yeah. Okay. So so there's two things. One would be private devotions and then family devotions. I think both are worth talking about. You need both things. So for me privately, the main thing is using Professor Horner's system of Bible reading. So I get 10 chapters of the Bible every day from several different selections. We all owe it to I think Andy Packer at a Bugenhagen conference a few years ago for introducing us to Professor Horner's Bible reading system.
Who
And I
who
do
is
it.
who is that guy?
I don't know. He's just some
Oh,
dude who
okay.
had published this like bookmark system where you put 10 bookmarks in your Bible. You divide the Bible up into 10 chunks, and then you're just working through each of those chunks a chapter a day. And part of his argument, which I find really compelling, is that you're never reading the same combination of 10 chapters ever, essentially. You're seeing all these chapters side by side in different ways. That's been really fruitful. You see connections, hear things that are different that you missed otherwise. The one thing that's missing from it, and so worth at times to vary things up a little bit, but one thing that's missing is continuity. So it takes 50 days to get through Genesis. Sometimes it'd be nice to go through Genesis in 3 days or 4 days, right? Instead of just taking that long. Okay, so that's thing number one, just like lots of Bible reading. The other thing is the Psalms. And I've done better or worse at this. Um, and I'm not doing well at this right now, but a daily diet of the Psalms. There was a time when I was doing all 150 Psalms in a week, and that was good, fruitful, but it was also not sustainable. So now I've got them divided up over 30 days, morning and evening Psalms. And it's just working through the Psalter. That's really fruitful. And then family devotions. So missing from all of that is disciplined time for prayer, and I'm constantly trying to reinvigorate that, trying to reestablish a prayer list and asking specific petitions, and that's like constantly coming back to that, trying to make that more disciplined. Family devotions is right now we're singing Compline, and we do it at the end of the day, and we read a chapter of the Bible, whether it's from the Bible or through a story Bible. We kind of cycle back and forth because I've got kids of all ages. So right now we're going through CPH's story Bible, chapter a day. We sing the upcoming hymn of the day for the next Sunday, and we pray for. I try to encourage the kids to pay attention during the course of their day and bring petitions to the evening so that they have something to pray for. And one of the themes of this conversation, or of this monologue should be that these things wax and wane, right? So like right now our prayers are pretty feeble, if I'm being honest, and I need to reinvigorate the kids to come back and pay attention to what's going on around them.
Well, that's an interesting, verbiage, wax and wane, because that's the moon, the lunar cycle, which is what the Old Testament prayer cycle is arranged with anyway. So I wonder if that's just kind of naturally built in. I mean, it'd be great to be, 100% full bore all the time. But because of our sinful human flesh, we can't. We're going to be governed by the lesser light in our prayers in some way.
It's true, and that's the great value of the liturgy, right? So even if we kind of thoughtlessly, mindlessly sing Compline as a matter of discipline, it's something, like we are in fact praying, and the Lord hears our prayers and intercedes. The Holy Spirit intercedes with groans too deep for words, right? I was talking in my Bible class yesterday about the difference between having habits and not having habits. And of course, everybody's afraid that if you do things habitually, that they'll become rote and mindless. And my argument's always, if you do things habitually, that's the only thing you have to worry about, is that they become rote and mindless. If you don't do them habitually, you have to worry about forgetting to do them.
That's right. Like there is a danger in just showing up to church on Sunday, every single Sunday, and not thinking about it. But the other danger is you never go to church.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Do
Want to tell
you
me about? Tell
ever?
me. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask if you've ever used a metrical psalter.
No, I have not. I have at times picked Psalms from the Trinity, psalter, these Scottish psalters for singing in chapel, for instance, with the kids, when I want to focus on a psalm.
I'm trying to get into it. So what spurred this was I had this crazy idea, and I'm not actually going to do all 150 psalms, but it would be great. Let's say I could have 50 psalms memorized, or 75. Let's say I could manage to memorize half of it. But then the question becomes, okay, which translation do I pick?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And part of me was like, well, we use the ESV in church every Sunday, and at Faith we say a psalm after the Old Testament reading, so that would be extremely practical. So that wouldn't be bad because we use it for worship. But then I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if these psalms were in meter and they rhymed? That would be so much easier to memorize. And
Yeah,
so
for
now
sure.
over the weekend I was going through. I don't know anything about metrical psalters, except that they're real and that Reformed use them. And I think I settled on one. I ordered one, and they've got a great app. So the OPC, the Orthodox Presbyterian Church, came out with this psalter in 2018 called the Trinity Psalter Hymnal, and they have an app on the App Store for $10. It's their entire hymnal, and
Are you
you can
listening,
make it so
CPH?
that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, why can't we do this? Because you can put just the text of the Psalter hymnal on it, or you can add the music, and then there's a button where you can press play, and it'll play the tune for you.
Nice.
I
That's
mean,
really good.
that's yeah. And so I think I'm going to really dive into it.
I was thinking about the task of memorization, and you're right. Having it be metrical and rhyming is super helpful. And you could even make use of the variation in translation as a memory aid, right? So the ESV, I think, now that I think about it, is particularly difficult to memorize. It's not, it's like there's nothing, there's no help in it. The King James Version is not nearly as difficult to memorize. It's written with a more poetic touch to it. But what you could do is you could memorize these metrical psalms and compare them with the ESV, and then you'll remember where it's different, and that'll be really fruitful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even though you have to kind of change, you might have to change the word order or change a word here or there. That's not exactly the word. I think there is something beautiful and creative and the image of God impressed on a human that we would take God's word and not make it more beautiful because it's impossible to do that, but to rearrange it for God's glory.
Yeah. Well, it's no different, honestly, than taking Paul Gerhardt hymns and translating them into English. You can't do it in a wooden way because part of the hymnody is the poetry, and so you need to retain the poetry.
Yep, precisely. And that's art.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's yeah, great. My devotional cycle for did I do this for 6 or 7 years ish? I did. Peter Bender, who's a pastor in Wisconsin, had just a page in his catechetical book. It was called a pastor's reading plan, and it was great. It was really rigorous. You read through the Old Testament once a year, the New Testament 3 times a year, and then the Lutheran confessions once a year, and it was divided by month, and so there was some flexibility there. And it's a really great plan. It it needs some. I came up with a plan this last year, so if you use it, or if Peter Bender happens to be listening, which I doubt, it needs some improvements, and so I've thought about just improving it for that use. But this past year, I just was like, I haven't. It's been a long time since I've just like chronologically. I mean, just read it from Genesis to Revelation. Um, with the aside of I do the Psalms differently, so I just don't read through those like I would Genesis. And then the Proverbs this year I divided up and do just reading 3 verses of those a day because those are meant to be
Yeah.
taken slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's good.
I I really enjoyed it. I think what I'm going to do next year, I'll come up with my own thing. I'm going to rearrange the books. So I'll read through Genesis, but then after Genesis I'll read something from the New Testament. Just because I really missed reading Paul's epistles. So I'm finally on Romans now. I was like, this is great. Why didn't anybody tell me about this guy?
He answers all. He told me everything I ever did.
That's right. That's right. but then by the time I'm done with it, I'll have read 13 or 14 of Paul's epistles, and not that you can't do that, but it would be nice to kind of mix it up a little bit genre wise.
Yeah,
That'll be on my plate in this month or sometime early December.
excellent. Um, Now, part of what you were doing with Bender was also reading the Book of Concord. Is that correct? Is that part of your devotional life still?
It hasn't been for a couple of years, and not that that's bad. I just haven't. There's so much to read. So I've read through the Book of Concord probably, 5 times cover to cover. So, and that it's great every single time. And I made sure I did it for the first time at seminary because I was going to take an oath saying that I believed everything the book said.
Did you also read the Constitution of the Missouri Synod? Because that's in there too.
No, don't tell anybody.
So now,
So after
related
after Genesis, after Genesis, do you want to do a read through of the Constitution?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Oh man, that'd be death
I
death for
I need
us.
to go check. I need to go check it out because people make references to it all the time, and I,
So
I honestly have no idea.
I had occasion to cite our church's constitution in Bible class this Sunday. I was talking about, what are the standards for communicant membership, and I said this out loud. I was like, this feels icky to me reading the Constitution, but also some parts of it, at least, are really weighty, and if we don't pay attention to them or don't use them, we're missing out on a valuable thing. But still, it feels icky talking about the Constitution.
Do you do you still do part of the small catechism at the beginning of your sermons?
I don't. No. Nope. I did that for all of it was from Advent 1 of last year until my last Sunday at Concordia. We ended. I mean, the timing worked out perfectly, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question was, so after you moved on from the catechism, were you going to have them start reciting the Constitution from the pews?
No, but try this out. Tell me what you think about this. I've been thinking through the progression, especially for the sake of kids. But when I talk about the kids, I ask the adults to always take it up too. So we start with the catechism texts, and then you go to the catechism explanations, right? So you've got texts and then explanations. And then if you're thinking about like learn by heart, recitation style stuff, there are also just like Bible facts that everyone should know. So I have a collection of 360 Bible facts, like Abraham's wife was Sarah, right? And
Keturah.
my my kids' favorite ones were always like the violent ones, like JL killed Sisera with a tent peg, right? So you get these. So you progress from the catechism explanations to the Bible facts, and then you should also know some things about like the timeline. Like the dates are really convenient in the Bible. Like you got creation about 4,000. You've got Noah about whatever 2560, something like that, 2540. I can't remember now, but Abraham's
Well,
at 2000.
yeah, the flood. No, the flood's about 2000, isn't it? Is that? Man, let me
Hang on,
go.
I had just
Let me
written
go
this
check.
down.
Let me go check my notes here. Oh, I guess no, it's way before. Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
2350 is the flood thereabouts.
Okay, gotcha.
About 2000, and then roughly, this is rough, but Isaac would be 1900, Jacob 1800, Joseph 1700, Moses 1500. That's on like pretty much on the money. David 1000. It's like
Right. Yep.
that's super convenient. So you should know those things. And I think it's helpful because as you're reading the history, it's always helpful to put in perspective the scope of things, like how long of a period are we dealing with here. So you get timeline stuff to know by heart, geography to know by heart, like where are these places, and then last, the kind of the capstone for this kind of recitative knowledge would be like a list of doctrinal questions, like you know, uh, concerning the two natures, or um, not what is it? There's like Schwann has a list of catechism questions and answers. I heard referenced recently, like how many gods
Like
are
like
there?
the,
One God.
the guy the guy who delivers ice cream.
The guy who delivers ice cream. Yeah, he drives that truck and he has some catechism questions. It's pretty awesome.
Fun fact: Lutheran. by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
That Schwan was Norwegian, so I don't know if I can fully embrace him, but
You don't have to,
that is
because
oh, okay. Good.
we'll
Well,
just maintain
they didn't
ethnic
embrace
lines. That's fine.
they didn't embrace the formula of Concord, so why should I have to embrace them?
These Norwegians did. So
Good. Oh, praise God.
yeah. But
Sorry,
anyways, I think
you were on a roll.
I mean that is what I would love for everybody to do, is just like continually be progressing through these things. And imagine if the congregation, like if you could say the congregation, here's the body of knowledge, and it's finite and discrete. That is to say, it like has clear boundaries. Here's the body of knowledge that I know I could ask anybody in the congregation one of these questions and they would know the answer. Um, I think that would be very valuable, kind of over against what feels at times to, I think, to people and to me, as like this really nebulous body of knowledge, like just like learn the faith. Well, being kind of handy to have like really specific criteria beyond the catechism, you know?
Well, I require all my members who join to describe to me the CRM status in the Missouri Synod and its history.
That's a pretty good shorthand for everything that I'm talking about. So what
let's
what
just cut right to the
disqualifies a
chase.
pastor and how
That's
can
good.
he be restored?
No, that's good. That does answer all sorts of questions, doesn't it? So yeah,
Probably really important questions.
really important
Yeah.
questions, because the eye of the body is what lets the light in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't control your tongue, so that's Jesus and that's James, and they're both talking about the preachers.
Yeah. Yeah. And governing your own household well. I mean, the Pauline qualifications for being a pastor tell you everything you need to know about the created order, and also about reconciliation. Because I mean, this is overlooked and undervalued, but like the key to headship within the home is not um, merely governance. You're not like the government, wielding only left-handed power, but you wield right-handed authority in your home, and that is to say, there's forgiveness has to be dispensed, and reconciliation has to be a big part of your life together, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Well, that's a very good devotional plan, and props to you for doing that.
Maybe you can say something about, because I heard in a sermon recently, your sermon, this great comparison between reading the scriptures and praying to um, diet and exercise. And I don't know why that seemed novel to me, but it's great. It's a great comparison. Diet being God's word, exercise being prayer, and these two things being the major factors in overall bodily health, right? Like ask any doctor, diet and exercise. And so the problem for bodily health is that when you need it most, you feel least like doing it, right? When you need to improve your diet and add exercise, the reason you need to add them is precisely the reason you don't want to, if you don't feel like it. So what? Consider a listener who like either feels neglectful of these things, or suffers the same thing that we all do, and that is regular lapses in the spiritual diet and exercise. What's your counsel? What's your advice for that listener?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really simple, and maybe you need something. So you need something to get you going. So we have this health program through our insurance, and I get points for working out. It's great because I was going to do it anyways. But you come up with these goals, and if you check in with the goal, you get points. And so they have like example goals. They're like, come up with your goal and then come up with a reward that you'll give yourself if you accomplish this goal. And the example was, I will buy myself new workout clothes if I go to the gym 3 days a week or whatever. And if that's what you need to push you along. So if I I mean, I don't know if this is holy to say it this way, but if you need psychological tricks, like buy a new Bible, I guess. And maybe that'll get you excited about diving into God's word.
Yeah, I mean I mean that is good because whatever you might do to motivate yourself, whatever expense you might not spare in order to help yourself bodily, you should do the same thing and more for your spiritual health. Um, there's always the like. I mean, I think that part of it's got to be uh, that you have to be prepared to continually be reinvigorating, like and recognizing that things come in seasons, right? You can't lift hard continually. You should be exercising steadily, right?
Yep, precisely. And the oh, the other basic thing is like you don't feel like reading the Bible or praying. Well, why don't you ask God to give you that desire?
There you go.
I mean, that's a really basic thing, and I like James tells us, well, you don't have because you don't ask.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's excellent.
one of my favorite stories in the Gospels is after the Transfiguration, Jesus comes down the mountain, and this guy has a son who's got a demon, and the disciples aren't able to cast it out, and they're like, "Why weren't we able to cast it out?" And Jesus goes, "Well, this kind can only be cast out by prayer." And I really think he's being sarcastic. He's asking the question, did you guys remember to pray?
You've convinced me of that so thoroughly that now when I teach that, the illustration I give is like the disciples are sitting in the car and the engine's running, and they're like, "But the car won't go." And Jesus says, "Well, did you push the gas pedal?"
That's right.
What were you
It's
expecting?
he's like this kind of car can only be moved if you push down on the pedal.
I oh man, it's so good. Uh,
So yeah,
I think that's really
we're
helpful.
really
Yeah,
basics. Yeah,
yeah. Here's another thing, and I think that this podcast is an example of this. Um, sometimes you need a buddy, right? You need a buddy sometimes for exercise and for diet, right? You need somebody to hold you to account. You need goals. So I haven't told you this yet, but over the last weekend, I went to Paducah, Kentucky for the Gates of Gaza men's retreat slash strength competition, which was the the OG strength men's retreat strength competition. Um, and it was a bunch of dudes lifting heavy weights and reading the Bible together. And um, so here's the thing, like that motivates you to work out, knowing that you're going to be with your bros and like they're going to be pulling heavy weights and you want to do it too. And I think that the same thing goes for like reading the Bible. Like I get together with you, and if I haven't read Genesis chapter 33 ahead of time, I feel like a complete schmuck because like we're going to talk about it, you know. And so it's incredibly motivating, right? And I mean that's the point is we're not. I know all you listeners out there, all four of you think that we do this for you, but this is a matter of Josh is my lifting buddy here. That's what's going on.
that's that's a great way of looking at it because it's like doing Bible study with your congregation. I get more out of it than my members do.
Yes, 100%.
And then so for any pastors listening out here, this is how you feel when you were assigned reading to do at Winkle and you didn't do it, and then you just show up and you tell a bunch of stories. Stop. Make the Missouri Synod great again, and the only way you're going to do it is if you do the assigned reading.
What's that? That's like you signed up for the 5K and you said I did some sit-ups this morning. I sat up once when I got up out of bed. It's like
that's
come on.
that's true. Yeah. What did was it Larry the Cable Guy? He said he did one sit up a day, half in the morning, half at night.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Uh,
speaking of that, it's like Peter. So Peter Thiel said, "I thought in the future we were going to get flying cars, and all we got was 140 characters." Referencing technological advance. Well, have you listened to the new Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk?
I started listening to it, and they talked about an interview between Tucker Carlson and Sam Altman, and so I had to go back and listen to that interview first, which
Oh,
was super interesting.
did you listen to that?
I
Uh,
listened to it, yeah.
oh my goodness, that interview. Tucker's like, is it ethical to commit suicide? And Sam Altman's like, well, I guess it depends on the country.
Yeah. It was fascinating. Fascinating in so many ways. Tucker was doing a good job of trying to point out the inconsistency, like the Doug Wilson question, or not, this is the Rushdoony question, right? Or who's the
Yeah,
guy?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
no, it's
by
Rushdoony.
what
Yeah, but
standard? Yeah, by what
yep.
standard? Um, so he was doing a great job of that. Um, but Sam Altman so clearly doesn't have a standard other than a subjective standard. So he wasn't ever going to come up with a, like, the best that would come out of that conversation is like, we're training ChatGPT on the basis of my subjective standards. Full stop. Right?
Yep. Have you seen his newest announcement? Like this was like probably 2 weeks ago, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, about what ChatGPT is going to allow, probably starting in December.
No,
They're
what
they're
was it?
going to they're going to start allowing personalized erotic content because he goes, well, we've managed to. I think we can keep it safe now. Man, that is so damaging. Because when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly just what our pot smoking, video game playing, and our mom's basements culture need, is a way to artificially generate our own erotic content.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what that means because uh ChatGPT is verbal communication. And isn't it the case that women are more susceptible to verbal pornography than men are? Men are visual pornography, attracted to visual pornography, women to verbal pornography. And I wonder, like, I don't see that being a trap that men would fall into, but women I could imagine really getting sucked into that.
Well, for my understanding, it's going to be like video generated.
Okay, okay, I gotcha.
So certainly you could do text based. I mean, that's the old comparison. That's like why women read romance novels, right? So
So
I think that stereotype does stand true.
So one interesting thing, another interesting thing that came out. I want to hear what you have to say about Elon Musk because I didn't listen to that whole conversation. But another interesting thing to me about Tucker Carlson's interview with Sam Altman is that Tucker Carlson was suggesting that there's something that feels intelligent about ChatGPT, and everybody kind of has this experience, at least at first, and there's all kinds of theorization like about personality that is more than just a machine. And Sam Altman was, I think, helpfully pushing back against that, but like in terms of design, it's like you can't conceive of the number of multiplications that are taking place in this supercomputer, that produce this probabilistic outcome, right? So it seems like it has a personality, but what it's doing is it's just summoning probabilities. This is the next likely reply, and that's important to remember because the deception that there's more there really is problematic for people. But I'm not sure that result or that explanation makes it any safer because people have always worshipped inanimate things. They've always done that. And it almost, in a sense, it'd be like better if it was something animate that they were relating to than something inanimate that they're treating as if it were a mind, right?
Yeah, it's so what people need more than anything, obviously, is God, but after that is a friend, right?
Right. Right.
And so the amount of cases where you see, so ChatGPT said that, only 1% of our users, tell ChatGPT their suicidal thoughts. But if you if you blow up their usage, 1% is millions of people
Right. Right.
who are talking to this chatbot about their deepest thoughts. They need a friend. You need a pastor as well, but you need somebody that you can connect to. And the problem is like you are hungry, and so what you do is you grab the bag of Doritos, and so it's going to provide you with something, but it's not gonna fulfill your soul.
That's right. Yep, and that's the real snare there because and this has been true of these technological phenomena in every way, right? This Doritos bag, it ensnares you, right? So that you lose your appetite for good food. You no longer desire what's actually good for you.
Right? Yeah. I mean, how many stories have you read? These are like on the New York Times about people turning ChatGPT in their boyfriend or their girlfriend.
Right. Right. He really gets
And
me.
Yeah, so I mean, this was inevitably going to happen. I use AI quite a bit as a help for like data assortment and stuff like that. Very useful for that. But what it is it's like a child because you have to give it directions and set parameters. It cannot, for the life of it, edit a Word document for me.
That's right.
So I'm trying because I'm trying to take so I edit our circuit newsletter. So I'm trying to take these articles that other people have written, and so I thought this would be fairly simple. Here's the template that I have. I want you to use this template. Take these other articles, and I've conveniently put the title of the article, the author right at the top. Can you just do a simple copy paste, format it, make it look like the other one, just replace the content? Absolutely not. It was like no, there's no way. I was like, fine, I'll just copy and paste it myself. I thought this is what AI could do for me, but I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there are some, like any tool, right? There are some things that are super useful about it, that it can just like that it increases capacity. This is true for like coding. So it makes programmers much faster because they don't have to go looking for code. They can just they can have it generate and then edit it, right? They have to know, in order to be an effective programmer, you still have to know how to program, but you don't have to build everything from scratch. And the same thing goes, I think, for lots of like an analytical work, right? So here's a document, and I need to know what the themes are, or I need to know what the major takeaways are. Um, it's like it produces Cliff's notes that are helpful. You still have to read the thing, right?
So anyways, Elon Musk hinted, didn't say it explicitly, but he hinted that he was gonna come out with a flying car, and it might be presented in the next 2 months.
Ah, interesting. I can't. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that. I mean, of course, I said it about electric cars too. I thought that was a flash in the pan, but it's yeah,
Well, I think the technological barrier is less than we think. The problem would be the regulatory barrier.
right.
Because what do you do when this Tesla starts flying in the air? We already don't have enough air traffic controllers.
Well, it's going to have to be much more autonomous, and they've already kind of budgeted for that with rolling out autonomous cars, right?
That's true. That could be fun.
We've got the
I
computing
am
power for it, I think, actually,
Yeah,
to
right.
like to manage the traffic. It just has to be centralized. That's all. Which is I mean, that's the legitimate concern about any number of these things, is that when you centralize stuff, there are grave dangers. So
Well, yeah, because then you get people. The government's going to be able to send you to places.
yeah, that's right.
It's like you wanna go to this grocery store. No, they didn't sponsor us this month, so you're gonna go to that
That's
grocery store.
that's right. Yep. Thank you
I'm
very
actually
much. I will walk.
Yeah, that's right. You won't be allowed to with all those Doritos you're eating, buddy.
Sorry, I
By
interrupted you.
the
You're about to say something interesting.
Well, I was gonna say if Doritos wanted to reach out to the show and sponsor us, we're not above that. So
Yeah, I mean, we're not opponents of Doritos. We just want to call a thing what it is, right?
precisely. Now, what I was gonna say is I'm actually super jazzed to talk about Genesis 33.
Let's do it.
At first glance, if you read this, I'm like, what in the world are they gonna talk about? But so my whole thing here is going to hinge on verse 4. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. What does that sound like in the words of Jesus?
This sounds like the prodigal son. Hmm.
Pre-
A story of two
precise,
sons.
precisely. It's the story of the prodigal son. Now, the interesting thing there is, of course, Esau is taking the action of the father, um, in the parable, and he's embracing the younger son. So in the
Yeah.
parable, the problem is the older brother, who you would think would be Esau, but he's actually acting like an older brother should here, which is great. It's lovely. You think everything's okay, but it's all built on a false premise. So that's the problem. So that's when it dives back into the parable of the prodigal son. So the what you have is, I think you have all the Old Testament festivals kind of baked into this, and my rationale for that is Jacob goes to Succoth, so verse 17, which is the word for booths or tabernacles. This is what they call the Feast of Tabernacles, Succoth. And the only way that they could have a true peace is if they actually observed the real Feast of Tabernacles. The problem is Esau is going to go back to Seir, that mountain, and he's not going to worship the true God there. He's going to start worshiping false gods. So the story looks good for now, but it quickly dissolves because their descendants don't both worship the Prince of Peace.
Yeah, it's this contentment to dwell away from the house of the Lord, right? To dwell. I mean, which is so. Of course, anytime you're away from the house of the Lord, you're dwelling in the tents of wickedness, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, the I was trying to do some stuff on Seir because I knew it. I knew the mountain pops up all over the place in the Old Testament, particularly in Deuteronomy. So this is where Esau ends up settling, this Mount Seir. And Deuteronomy 33:2, starting in verse 1, this is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the people of Israel before his death. He said, "The Lord came from Sinai and dawned from Seir upon us." Meaning, like, the true God was dwelling in the land of the Edomites, like, the entire time. The problem was Esau's descendants refused to worship him.
Yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Is it Obadiah? Is like the kind of final oracle against the Edomites, and it's brutal, right? It's
Yeah, it's
uh,
it's pretty bad.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think that is noteworthy. You said you commented on Abraham's wife Keturah, who is the mother of the Midianites, right? And these neighboring nations, it's significant that they all have this ancestral connection. They all have a claim to the promise given to Abraham. So it's kind of like woe to them that they, like woe to you if Sodom had had this connection, they would have believed long ago, right? But worse for you that you did not.
I wonder if they continued circumcision throughout their lines, or at what period it stopped, because they're all children of Abraham. So Esau would have been circumcised,
Mm-hmm.
and I would imagine that he would have circumcised his children, maybe just out of guilt, because he wanted to show Isaac and Rebekah. Because you see his guilt when he marries the wives. He kind of feels bad for it, and so he wants to make right and marry a cousin.
Yeah, isn't that the allure of those kind of sacramental things, the things that are accompanied with external signs, is that which is why God addresses the people, circumcise your hearts, circumcise therefore the foreskins of your hearts, because to be circumcised without faith is an abomination, right?
So what you have here is you have a circumcised people, and there's not going to be true peace that's everlasting. And then in the next chapter, 34, you have the Shechemites who are not circumcised and yet will become circumcised, and they're all going to die for it.
Right, right. Yeah, that one's going to be a lot of fun. Uh,
I,
Fun when we
I
get
can't
there.
wait. Do you have a guest lined up? Should we bring back Rory Martin?
Yeah, let's get
Just
Rory to talk
anytime.
about circumcision again.
Yeah, that'll be great.
It's interesting because, of course, the last reference in 33 here is that he goes and he lives in this place which had been purchased from Shechem for 100 pieces of money. This little possession of the land, right? That Jacob obtains. What do you make of this procession that Jacob sends here? I mean, so on the one hand, you start reading, it's like, okay, this is really feels kind of shameful. It's the female servants, and then it's Leah and her sons, and then it's Rachel and Joseph, last of all. the one consolation is that verse 3, it's, and he himself went on before them. So Jacob puts himself in the front of the line, right? Bowing 7 times until he came near his brother. But like, if there was any, there was no, of course, there was no doubt about where his heart lay. But nah, it's just kind of like, gee, man.
Well, so just knowing a little bit about what the church fathers say about Leah and Rachel. So I believe it's Justin, and then Origen also takes this tact. Leah is representative of the old covenant, and then Rachel is representative of the church. And you don't really have to stretch too far to see it, because Paul certainly uses this with Hagar and Sarah, the two covenants. And I like that. So you always know who his true beloved is, even though he's married to both of them. And I think this is a great picture, actually, of the old covenant and the new covenant, where he's married to both of them, but he clearly has a strong preference. Like, things are better for one than the other.
That's right. And in fact, in similar, like in it, Paul uses this kind of description. The reason why Rachel and Joseph are going to come in is actually because of providence given to the church, right? Given to Leah, right? It's actually through the church, essentially, that the Jews will be saved.
Right. Yeah. And God still looks upon Leah, right? So he sees Leah and that she's hated, and then he decides to give her another child. But
Now,
he's
who are the
hoping
servants out in front?
your mom.
Okay.
Somebody I heard somebody goes, "Your mom jokes are so immature," and that just made me want to tell 10 more your mom jokes.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Middle
Um
school was a great
that's
time. And just everybody needs to acknowledge that.
that's an interesting question. So Rachel Church, Leah Israel. So then it's got to be the uncircumcised, um like maybe God-fearers kind of in the Old Testament, who God still wants to bring in because they're still connected in some way to the covenant. And it breaks down at a point because, of course, their descendants are circumcised, but there are concentric circles.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, the role that Bilhah and Zilpah play is completely passive, right? They are they have no agency whatsoever, um, and their offspring are not even their own offspring. I wonder if you could make an argument about the angels here, that they're servants slash ministers, as in ministering angels, and somehow there's something more going on. They also enter into the kingdom of heaven, but they are uh, for a little while only, put in this position of being above men.
Well, sure. So maybe it's like the, yeah, angels or the law, as Paul talks about it, as a guardian.
Sure, yeah, well, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty good. Did you notice this name here at the end of the chapter, verse 20? Jacob, he erects an altar and called it El Elohe Israel.
God, the God of Israel.
And notice the iteration. El is in there 3 times.
Yeah, ooh, I like it.
So when I went to college, we were taught in our Old Testament class. Well, yeah, the word for God, Elohim, yeah, it's plural, but don't read the Trinity into it. And now that I'm, wise, mature, I don't make as many your mom jokes. I realize that is so bad, because if it's the triune God who wrote this thing, why wouldn't he reveal himself as the triune God throughout the Bible?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it would be deceptive otherwise. Hey guys, I'm one God, and there's just one person here. Just kidding. There's three people.
No, and I think the impetus behind it, and it's the same reason why people called the Old Testament the Hebrew Bible. I can't, I can't, I can't stand it. Are you guys so afraid of offending a people group that you will end up giving up a portion of your scripture?
Yeah, and is this related to dispensationalism? I was talking with a former dispensationalist, and um we were talking about what's the kind of like the key argument against dispensationalism, which is the claim that the eons of the world are broken up into different relationships that God has with the world. So like one way to put it crassly would be that like the Jews are saved by a different means than the church is saved, and that Israel in the Old Testament is distinct, unconnected to the church in the New Testament. Um, and the argument, for me, the clearest argument is Paul in Galatians saying that the covenant was not annulled by the law, and it's always been by promises as given to Abraham. Um, and why did I start talking about that? What did you say? You were saying,
Giving up the Old Testament.
yeah, that's right. So they're the Christian scriptures, right? And this is actually really, really helpful for recovering dispensationalists. Like when we say things that sound kind of outrageous, like Adam was a Christian, Abraham was a Christian. We're all Christians. The song is correct. Father Abraham had many sons. I am one of them.
That's right. And Jude says it was Jesus who led the Israelites out of
Yeah,
Egypt.
yeah, that's right.
I love it.
So now, what
Oh
do you make?
God.
What do you make of Jacob refusing Esau's assistance here? Let me leave some people behind to help you because your livestock are so pokey and the children are walking slow. And Esau said, "Let me leave some people to help you." And Jacob says, "No, you go on ahead. just leave me alone."
I I think it's the same thing that Abraham refuses, the riches at the end of after he rescues Lot and the king of, is it Sodom? There wants to give him all these gifts, and he's like, no, I'm not going to accept it lest the people say that you got rich because of all the other nations and it wasn't God.
Do you think that was offensive to the king of Sodom? Did it hurt his feelings?
Um, pro- maybe a little bit. I'm just thinking about when you offer somebody something and they refuse it.
Yeah, and especially if you had in mind that your offer of something was going to give you an opportunity to kind of lord it over them, right? So there's on the one hand, there's just kind of like the rejection of a gift, but it is the case at times that this like the gift comes with hidden strings attached, and when you reject the gift, when Abraham rejects the gift, when Jacob rejects the gift, kind of it uncovers whatever strings attached there might be, right? And I was just thinking about how true to form this is because of the nature of the piece here in as you were describing it, right? So there's this temporary piece, it and it's lost in future generations when the sons of Esau are faithless and don't worship the true God. But there is this kind of like sigh of relief. Oh, good, we've got peace. And that happens so often in life. I think about it, especially as a pastor. It's like you whatever, somebody's been alienated, somebody's been outraged, and you manage to have a conversation, or you talk, or somebody new, somebody that you've never met before, and you manage to form some sort of a rapport with them, some temporary peace. There's always this like this danger that at some point I'm going to say something biblical, and you're going to be like, well, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that.
that's that's good. Yeah. So whenever people describe their favorite pastors, sometimes it's for really great reasons, but other times it's I love the way he talked, or something like that, or like how he dealt with this situation, which may or may not have been sinful, but it's like you like the guy because of his personality, and then this brand new guy comes in. Yeah, it's all based on fickle things, and then once you start saying the hard things from the Bible, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think it's really good for Jacob to do what he does here. Like it'd be very tempting. This is psychologizing a bit too much, but tempting not to receive the help because he actually needs it, but to appease his brother, to like let his brother think, yep, this sure we could use your help, right? And he's making it clear, nope, the Lord is my help, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Well, I don't think it's psychologizing it too much because there's something very transactional happening here, because it seems like we talked about this last time, and I'm going to run with it, that Jacob buys off Esau with this gift. I mean, he appeases him, and again, the problem is if it's not the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, then you fall into this kind of pagan worship where Esau becomes kind of a false god. And the only way to reverse this cycle of the parable of the prodigal son is if the older brother is somehow willing to actually die for the younger son, not just give him stuff, but put his life on the line, which is of course what Jesus does. So like the a man who had two sons, of course, is like it's the story throughout the Bible, but like the ultimate sense is it's Adam and Jesus, and it gets a little trippy because Jesus, of course, is before Adam, but he's also the younger brother, right? Because he becomes a human. But in an eternal ontological sense, Jesus is the older brother, and Adam threw away the inheritance, and yet Jesus was willing to lay down his life for the younger brother. I mean, how incredible is that?
Yeah, right. So here's the alternate telling of Genesis 33. Jacob sends all these flocks ahead, and Esau meets him and says, "My lord, here's my right. Here's my tribute, right? Which would be
Yeah,
like Jonathan taking off his robe and giving his cloak, his shield and his sword to David, right?
good.
And I mean, it's like,
Right.
it's great because that's definitely not going to happen in this story. Like Esau might be able to like say, "Hey, bro, whatever. That was a long time ago. That's totally fine." But he's not gonna kneel down before Jacob. No way.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate problem because then he's ultimately rejecting the messianic seed, and you could say he's friendly towards him, but there are plenty of people who are kind of quasi friendly to Christianity, but
Yeah,
unless you
friendly to
believe
Jesus.
in the Christ, right? Yeah, friendly to Jesus, right? But unless you actually like put your faith in him, if you don't believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, man, all is lost.
Yeah, that really is a rub. I mean, I think I see this so often. I see the tension here so often because um, we want to imagine that if you're not antagonistic, you're just fine, right? That if you're like tolerant of Christianity, you're going to get a pass. And it's like somebody also needs to say, "That's nice that you're tolerant of Christianity. That makes life easier for us, and it gives the gospel free course. That's great, but you're still under judgment." And that's the moment at which the toleration ends. and so like this kind of like tolerance of Christianity breeds a poor confession among Christians, right?
That so we can tie in the next story that almost happens after Jesus tells them, "Did you guys pray?" After the transfiguration, is the disciples see other people casting out
Yes.
demons in Jesus' name, and the disciples are like, "We told them to stop." I think it's so hilarious because they they weren't able to do it, and then the guys who were having success, they told them to stop because they weren't with them. And then of course Jesus says, well, if they're not against you, of course they are with you. So I could see somebody like misconstruing that to say, well, if they're tolerant, but that's not the point, because they're actually, the only way they could cast out demons was if they remembered to pray. So they actually have the confession, they're actually the ones who are praying. And it's just so ironic that the disciples say, stop it."
That's right, because the mark of not being against Jesus is not neutrality. It's not being Switzerland. It's taking up arms with the Allied, right? That's how you know if you're not against us.
Right. Now, can I quick say something against Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox YouTube pages?
Yeah, do it. That sounds great.
Guys, stop aiming your arrows so much at the Protestants. Okay, some of us Protestants earn a little bit of it. I get it, but whenever your conversion is simply aiming at Lutherans, Calvinists, whatever, and you're telling us that we don't have the true version of Christianity, you're not converting anybody. You're just getting them to jump from one Christian team to the next and to just, get your little weird little version of Christianity that you think you have the valid one because you guys worship the Pope. And yeah, I know what I said and I meant every single word of it. Would you just focus on evangelizing the non-Christian world? Thanks.
It's the same thing is probably true of Lutherans, right? I mean, it's worthwhile for us to aim some arrows at the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church, 100%. But we would probably be better off spending much more of our energy evangelizing our unchurched neighbors.
Right. Yeah, and it needs to be said. I'm not saying there's no differences. Right? Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But it's like when somebody transfers from one Lutheran church to the next. Every pastor is happy about that because our membership increases, and it's great. But sometimes we kid ourselves. It's a million times better when you baptize somebody who was a pagan.
Right. We should be more discerning in our reporting of things. And we should keep score, and you get 0 credit. You get zero points for receiving a transfer.
Yeah. That's right. So for all you congregations out there who boast about being so missional, just ask yourself how many of your members are just disgruntled old Missouri Synod Lutherans, and then let's just be honest about it, and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just because I want to be an equal opportunity offender here, I mean, the same thing goes for like liturgical confessional folks who, somebody finally saw the light about whatever it might be, and now and of course what's tempting is to like find a particular alliance with those folks because they're against the same things you're against, right? So it feels like you're rallying troops, and the point is whatever. It's like just whatever.
At some point, do you see yourself forming a church where your only creed is, well, we're never doing setting 4?
The anti-setting 4 brotherhood. Yeah, I think we could
That's
do that.
that's right. Uh,
I don't
we
know
just
enough
we
about
just we,
the origins of our various settings in the divine service in LSB, but they're certainly worthy of some criticism, I think.
that's I mean that's fair. But this is why I could never be in certain circles, because we just finished using setting 4 last week. We just moved to setting 1 yesterday, and it was
Oh,
great. We
nice.
sang "This is the feast." This is the feast for All Saints Day.
To be honest, my major complaint against the multiplicity of settings is that it confuses me, and I still have to think: are we saying the creed before or after the sermon? And I just like I don't want to have to think about that, you know.
If you would just learn to read, it wouldn't be an issue. I will put. I will send you a bottle of Tylenol to hide behind the altar book so that you can figure it out.
Yeah, so I can ramp up my neurosis a little bit right when I need it.
That's right.
Perfect.
If you want to stick with setting 3 all the time, that's fine. Like I'm never going to criticize that. But just don't shoot arrows at me for using other
I
services in the
I don't
hymnal.
think I have. I've never shot an arrow at you in my life.
I'm not talking to you. I don't know who I'm talking to, but you're out
Yeah.
there.
Let's see. Is he in the room with us right now, Josh?
um I can't see him.
All right. Well, you got anything else about Genesis 33?
Uh no, I think I've had my piece.
Okay. It's good. Fantastic. You want to see if we can get
You
Elon on to talk about 35, maybe? Genesis 35.
yeah, that would be.
Rory for 34 and maybe Elon for 35.
That sounds great. You've got connections.
I'll see what I can do.
Great. All right. Hey, you anything grinding your gears real quick?
Let's see. Nothing too spectacular. I mean the the Gates of Gaza men's retreat was phenomenal, and you had this experience, I think, at the Sword of Gideon last January. Um, when you put a bunch of guys in the room together and tell them to do a hard thing, a hard physical thing, and then they don't need any particular motivation. It's not like it's like no, we're just gonna, the motivation bubbles up from within them. I love that. And here's the thing that I have loved even more is, especially for the sake of my boys and any other young men present, there is so much to gain from watching older, more mature men go hard and do something, to do something that they thought was that they certainly found difficult, that they thought they maybe couldn't do. So we had guys at the Gates of Gaza. They do a deadlift, a one rep max deadlift. You have 3 attempts, and a number of guys hit PRs. like we're talking mid 400s PRs. These guys, and one dude pulled 500. I mean, it was awesome. It was amazing, and then they had to work at it. And I'm just like, so like we came home and my boys, especially my younger boys, were out like putting plates on the barbell, like working on upping their PR. And it's just so great.
Nice.
I love it so much. And then of course the key is tying it together with discipline and camaraderie, brotherhood in the faith. So we are called to. This is my basic pitch for these things: is that men are called to do things that they don't want to do and things they think they can't do spiritually all the time. And so you train yourself for that through physical training. I discipline my body so that I'm not just boxing the air. St. Paul says, right? So mark your calendars, because sometime in May, there's going to be a Sword of Gideon here at Grace in Little Rock, and we want everybody to come. It's going to be awesome.
Are you gonna have everybody roll a big rock?
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm not. Oh, that's a great.
Just thinking of marketing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What's grinding your gears?
So I'm almost done with this Danielou book on Origin, and it's great. He's a good writer, and Origin's a fascinating character. A little bit of cult of personality, but he seems to be like the first like modern theologian who he's got tons of followers and bringing people into the faith. And yeah, there's some problems with his thought, and I'll readily acknowledge that. But the thing that he loved more than anything was reading the Bible and commenting on it. And so, deep down, there's a special place in my heart. Even if I disagree with some of his conclusions and they are problematic, he'll just allegorize a Bible verse because Philo will say, well, that probably didn't happen, and be like, yeah, it probably didn't, like Adam and Eve being historical. So we can't get on board with that. But the fact that he studied the Bible and just wanted to talk about it is something to emulate.
Absolutely. That's great. Excellent. All right. Talk
All
again
right, well, I'll
soon.
see you.